My Hero Academia boasts some of the creepiest villains in anime. We have a talking sack, a boy with eczema and a finger obsession, a teenage vampire, and Scarface. This squad could give any other a run for their money, looking at you, DC.
No! God, please, no! No!
But what sets these villains apart from others is that they are products of a flawed and broken society, except All For One, who is just a complete menace. This episode was called Inflation, and I'm not talking about the gas prices. We resume the intense battle against Shigaraki and the heroes, with Shigaraki's arm mutating into a massive, grotesque cluster of fingers that relentlessly pummels Miracle. The monstrous arm continues to expand, sprouting branches of distorted fingers that nearly engulf the entire containment unit. Shigaraki is looking like the finger creeper from Elden Ring but on steroids. Initially, the heroes believed that they had the upper hand, thinking they had neutralized Shigaraki's quirk. Little did they know, Shigaraki's mutation is his body adapting to the multitude of quirks within the All For One quirk. This transformation is a manifestation of quirk singularity. If any of you forgot about the quirk singularity theory, let me fill you in. It's a concept put forward by the good doctor, who theorized as generations pass and quirks continue to evolve and strengthen, the human body will fail to adapt to their complexity. When quirks become too powerful to control, it could spell the end of humanity.
Huh?
The quirk singularity theory is one of the most compelling plot points in the entire series, but it was so underdeveloped that Horikoshi pretty much just dropped it. It's not as if this plot point came out of nowhere, it was hinted as far back as season 2. Despite being called a theory, Shigaraki's ability to sprout hundreds of fingers from his hand proves its validity. And let's not forget how overpowered Eri's quirk is. To be honest, this is weak writing from Horikoshi because it feels like he revived this plot point solely to make Shigaraki stronger than he already is. With the stakes at their highest, the heroes face an even more terrifying scenario. Erasure can't neutralize mutations, and Monoma can only use one quirk at a time. If Monoma stops using Erasure to transport Deku to the battlefield, the heroes will be doomed by Shigaraki's decay. So yeah, Deku needs to find a way to confront Shigaraki himself, and fast. But before Deku can get over there to fight Shigaraki, he needs to deal with Toga. The heroes were locked in fierce combat with the villains and the Nomus, and amid all of the chaos, Toga chooses this moment to confess her love for Deku. Deku understandably isn't into the crazy types. You can't really blame him though, because he's never had a girlfriend before, and the first girl to confess to him is a serial killer. Toga's version of love is incredibly twisted. For her, expressing love means causing pain. Her disturbing infatuation becomes even darker given the nature of her quirk. This is also why Midoriya's danger sense didn't activate. She's fighting him out of genuine affection. Toga is a deeply disturbed character, and that's putting it lightly. Unlike Shigaraki and Dabi, who were mistreated as children, which severely affected their outlook on hero society, Toga didn't go through that as a child. Instead, her suffering stems from being born with the wrong quirk. Toga's quirk is like an addiction she can't control, and when you combine this with her warped perception of love and friendship, you get a dangerously unstable individual. For most of her life, she had to pretend to be normal and live like everyone else. In the words of Jermaine Cole, don't save her, she don't want to be saved. Her parents attempt to desperately suppress her natural inclinations towards blood, but this only made things worse. In terms of character writing, Toga is in my opinion one of the best written characters in the series. She's not better than the Todorokis though. Horikoshi crafted a character who cannot be helped by society at all because her quirk prevents her from leading a normal life. She probably underwent extensive therapy, but it wasn't enough, and it only exacerbated her condition. Maybe her parents could have had blood bags delivered to her like Uber Eats, but
Hey yo, what the fuck?
you know, that would have been too dark for this show. All she longs for are true friends and lovers, but Ochako and Deku's refusal to identify with her only made her realize that they're just like everyone else who rejected her. The only ones who accepted her for who she is was Shigaraki and the League of Villains, a place where she could now call home because her allies are all outcasts like her. After Deku fails to reciprocate her love, this further pushes her deeper into villainy, and this fight should have been over in seconds. Are we seriously expected to believe that Toga could keep up with a 45% one-for-all Deku? And not only that, she managed to cut through Black Whip with a kitchen knife. Deku could have just quickly knocked her out and then gone over to Shigaraki. It just felt dragged out. Ochako and Tsuyu try to hold off Toga, urging Deku to go to Shigaraki immediately. He escapes the scene using Float and Farjin. Wanting to move faster, he considers using his final quirk, but the second user warns him to not activate it because it should only be used as a last resort against Shigaraki. And oh boy, I can't wait to see the second user's quirk animated. If you know, you know. Meanwhile, Dabi has burned down the area and defeated most of the heroes. Dabi remains bitter that it's Todoroki facing him instead of Endeavor, and he's on demon time. This man is literally burning himself alive, but it doesn't matter to him. All he wants is revenge on his dad. Like, say what you want about Dabi, but he's really standing on business. He will stop at nothing until Endeavor is gone, and he'll go through anyone to make that dream a reality. If Endeavor had fought Dabi, he would have gotten cooked. They share the same weaknesses of overheating, but Dabi's flames are far stronger, and the emotional weight of Endeavor's past mistakes would have crippled him in battle. So Shoto being there is perfect because he doesn't have any of their weaknesses, and plus, the heroes need someone strong to fight against All For One. Since this is a battle of brothers, it's inevitable that we revisit another Dabi flashback. Let us return to our intermittent, scheduled programming of Meet the Todorokis. The last time we saw the Todoroki family, a young Toya pleaded with Endeavor to witness the growth of his quirk, but his father, having deemed him a failure, had given up on him. Heartbroken and disappointed, Toya sat alone in the forest, and his emotional turmoil triggered his flames to burst out of control, destroying the forest and leaving him scorched alive. Presumed dead, Toya was instead found and taken in by All For One. Though his injuries were healed, the damage to his body was so extensive that he can never use his power the same way again. His organs, especially his sense of pain, was severely dulled. All For One, being the ever-conniving villain, planned to use Toya as a potential vessel for himself if Shigaraki didn't work out. But what's even more tragic about Toya's situation is that the physical and mental anguish inflicted by his father had such a strong grip on his mind that not even All For One could manipulate him. That's how bad it is. The real villain of this episode isn't even Dabi, it's Enji Todoroki. The psychological torment he inflicted on his son makes All For One look like Sideshow Bob. Toya Todoroki was conditioned from birth with the sole purpose of surpassing All Might. When he couldn't live up to those expectations, he saw him as a failure. Enji's quick shift to focus on Shoto after Toya's supposed death only further cemented his sense of a pointless existence. The Todoroki family storyline is single-handedly the best storyline in My Hero Academia. It's even better than the One For All versus All For One dynamic. We've seen the battle of good and evil countless times across anime, movies, TV shows and cartoons. It's overdone at this point. With the Todoroki family drama, Horikoshi tailored a deeply human and relatable plotline here. Dabi as a villain is just too far gone. He embodies the flaws of both Endeavor and Shoto. He has Endeavor's relentless drive and obsession, but with a twisted focus solely on causing suffering to his father. And he also represents what Shoto might have become if he had never moved past his resentment. This is what makes Dabi more terrifying than Shigaraki as a villain. The only thing that scares me about Shigaraki is his quirk and his chapped lips, but Dabi is purely diabolical. He used the League of Villains as mere tools to achieve his goal, and he's willing to even endanger his own family members to exact revenge on Endeavor. Like, not even God can save him. Dabi is living on borrowed time, but he's feeding himself on his hatred for Endeavor, and this episode exceeded my expectations. Every single shot of Dabi in this episode looks so badass. The best parts of it, besides the animation, were the OST and the voice acting. Dabi's voice actor is extremely talented. The range he displayed during this episode was incredible. There were so many cool moments in this episode, like when Dabi used Endeavor's moves uncontrollably, and the part when he was beating Shoto's ass was so funny. Shoto did not deserve that, he did him dirty. Shoto and Dabi's fight isn't just a clash between hero and villain, it's a family feud. This battle had so many parallels to when Deku fought Todoroki back in season 2. Back then, Deku tried to get Todoroki to understand that his power is his own and urged him to embrace it. In a full circle moment, Shoto Todoroki fully embraces his heritage, combining the quirks of his mother and father to unleash his ultimate move, Phosphor. And this technique is perfect for fire users because it creates a cold fire, allowing him to burn and freeze opponents simultaneously, making it the best move against Dabi. I liked how during the exchange, Shoto's mission was to stop Toya from burning himself by cooling him down. It was so powerful to see him agree with his brother about their father's wrongdoings while still condemning Dabi's slaughter of innocent people. The tragic reality is that Dabi's mental instability and trauma just drove him to these extremes. Shoto's final attack on Dabi was so beautiful. I got chills, no pun intended, when they showed Shoto and Toya's younger selves. It didn't really feel like an ultimate move, it was much more emotional. Guys, I have to say, this season so far is 8 for 8. Studio Bones brought their A game with this fight. With Shoto having defeated Dabi and neutralized a major threat, the next episode promises even more intensity with Endeavor versus All For One. If this top tier quality can continue, this might just be the best season of My Hero Academia since season 3. Everything from here on will be insane. We might see Deku's new quirk sooner rather than later, which is wild because we're not even halfway through the season yet. And for all of the Deku haters and doubters, get ready, because he's about to show up big this season. Just you wait. Thank you to everyone who watched the video. Like, share and subscribe. Comment down below your thoughts on the episodes, and until next week, stay blessed.